Good evening, everybody. Another Monday, another great conversation with somebody connected to Covenant, and who better than Val Clark? And she's graciously agreed to talk about, what feeds her soul. We've been on a kick for several weeks now about scripture and favourite scripture. But we're sort of expanding it as we go along, because once you commit to something like, oh, what's your favorite scripture? What happens is people clam up, or they don't think they've got one, or whatever. What we're really all about is talking about the spiritual life. And so, thank you.
You're so welcome.
What do you have to tell us today?
Well, when you asked me to be a part of this, my first reaction was, somebody else can do it, that'll be fine. But then I realized that wasn't what you were really asking me for or you needed, but you wanted to hear what I felt and how I feed my soul. Mm-hmm. And you talked about, what's your favorite scripture? And I went, like you said, people clam up. But what came to me, I don't always know the exact place you find it in the Bible.
Yep.
However, I'll give you enough of this verse that you go, oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
So the first one that came to mind is, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Oh. And so quickly before you came to the door this morning,
I looked it up.
I looked it up to make sure that it was. And so it's in Philippians, and it's 4:13. And I read it through again, and I said, that still is it. Mm-hmm. I have enough of the essence of that particular verse that feeds my soul. Mm-hmm.
And a very encouraging verse. I mean, when you can't do something, it says you can. I can do all things.
Exactly. And I recall sending that to other people when I'm talking with them, and find they're right in that spot that they can't see. They can't see their way out of it. Mm-hmm. And I'll send that scripture to them. I've even sent it to a niece of mine and just said, just read this every now and then. Say it out loud, because it's true. And I firmly believe it. I do. There's times when I think that what I'm doing is okay but not good enough.
Oh, yes.
So I need something to let me know, persevere, go forward, or maybe not.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah, it can help you discern.
That's it.
It can also help you remember that it's not you that's doing it, it's through Christ who strengthens me.
Absolutely. And it's so often that I will find it's after the fact.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Yeah.
After the fact, I'm going, oh. And this is my little thing with God. We got a special thing going. I go, thanks.
Yeah.
Because that's my way of giving him the praise and glory for what was done. Mm-hmm. It wasn't me. And we don't always think about that. Let me say this. I don't always think about that. I go, oh, look what I did.
Yeah.
But with help, thank you. Thank you.
Right.
And that says another thing about my spiritual formation. It is, and my spiritual journey, it is that relationship has evolved. Thank God.
Oh, yes.
Over the years and through the different encounters that I've had. But the relationship is like a friend. Not, I've never really talked about this, but for me, it's like when I get into, as a friend of mine uses this term, a pickle. I go, okay, come on, help me out here. And I'm counting on you, and I kind of like need it now. And I just take a deep breath and go, okay, God, I know you can do this one way or the other. Mm-hmm. And then proceed forward.
Right.
So I know I'm never alone, and that's a song. I also, it's not only
you were
scriptures,
saying earlier, it's not just scripture, right?
Songs come to me, and it's just a few words, or maybe it's a line or two, and that's enough for me to hold on.
Yeah.
That's another song, because he's there.
Yeah.
and he will guide you and lead you and protect you. And I truly, truly believe all of that. There's times when I don't feel it as much. And I acknowledge that and go, okay, what's going wrong here?
Yeah.
But I can put that smile on my face because I believe he is my protector and counselor. And I tease myself going, all right, talk to me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I need to hear you. And I hear it in different ways.
Yeah. I've often said at church, for example, I hear it in a song that I leave and I'm still singing that song. And then weeks later it might come back to me and I'll say, what is this tune that's going through my head? And often it'll have a word for me several weeks later.
Exactly. I grew up in a multi-faith house. Or multi. It was, my parents were Baptists, but my sisters and I were in the Catholic faith. Primarily because of education. My mother thought that that would be best for us. But at that time, you also had to be a practicing Catholic. And so we went to Mass first, 9 o'clock Mass every Sunday. And then came home, had breakfast, and went to church.
Baptist church.
Baptist church.
Right.
And so all of my songs that come to mind quickly, not all, most of the songs that come to mind quickly are all through the Baptist tradition.
Right.
You know, what a friend we have in Jesus. Yes, we have that in our hymnal in the Methodist church, but you know, we had to snazz it up a little bit.
Oh, of course. Of course.
I had to do my rock. And,
Yeah.
But those are the songs that come to mind.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when you are preaching or when Ann is preaching, there's something that you'll say and I go, oh, they should follow up with this song because this is a good one. I was so used to that.
That's right.
You know, it may not have been something you rehearsed.
Right. But
That's
you have
what
to
the
sing,
message
I'm feeling a
is,
song coming
and
on, people.
Then you hear it and that's it.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the other thing. Songs just come to mind.
Well, and the whole tradition of movement with a song, like people in the staid church are just so used to. Oh, God forbid we should even open our hands, let alone clap. But there's something about the whole body experience. Of singing or reading scripture or hearing. I mean, you're using all your senses.
You are.
In a different kind of way.
You are.
And your family was sort of musical, you said.
My mother and father both sang in the choir at church. My mother was a strong alto, and you have witnessed that in Tracy. My father, neither one of my parents were out in front singing. Tracy just does it and does it well. That's her gift. But my mother and father sang in the choir and had leadership in the church itself and in the choir. The music piece for me, I play the piano. I took music lessons, and so did Tracy. But I was the one that went farther along than any of my other sisters. So that's that musical piece for me. And so when Kevin is playing, I'm sitting there going like this. Or, you know, if I was sitting right behind him, I'm looking at the music going, okay, I got that. Look at that trill.
Yes.
You know, it's those kinds of things. So yes, music was definitely a part. And as you have already mentioned, in the Baptist tradition or in the Black church, there is a lot of movement. There is a lot of expression of the feeling of the Spirit.
Right.
And it's there.
Right.
I know my first couple of experiences at Covenant, I went, oh, I don't know about this because
this is too white for me.
Ooh, I'm going, okay. And so, but I became a part of Covenant, and Covenant became a part of me.
Yeah.
And so all that clapping just comes. And it's not that too white for me was a hindrance. It's that I thought, you know, if you see somebody else doing it and that's what you feel, go ahead and do it.
Yes.
Go ahead and do it.
I've come to that too. I mean, I was raised sort of, I would say, towards the Pentecostal independent side. So I know what you're saying about the full body. But when I was working as an actual pastor, that you'd be the only one clapping, or you'd be the only one moving your body to the hymn, and eventually I had to just say, well, so what? Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I'm going to move my blood.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That reminds me of a funny experience that I had. As an officer in the United Methodist Women, which is now United Women in Faith, sometimes I'm asked to speak for our UMW Sunday. So I went to a church, North Chili, and I didn't know that the pastor would be there. Usually the pastor isn't there, but it was somebody I knew, and I just said, so why are you here? That just puts a little nervousness in me, but I did my praying, I did my centering, and I was ready. And so within my talk with the congregation, I needed some response back.
Yeah.
And I felt that I was talking to stones. And I just stopped and said, excuse me, but you're going to have to answer some questions. If I say, so how are you feeling out there? Could you just let me know how you're feeling? I said, we got to get past this. And one person called out, we don't move or talk in this church. I said, then there's a problem. I went, sorry, Pastor. And so it broke that ice, that broke that barrier, and it was a wonderful time and experience. Yeah. I remember talking to the pastor afterwards, and she said, you got them to move. I'm ready to go now.
Yeah.
I went, okay,
yeah,
I'll come back.
Yeah.
But it's that whole idea of sharing your experience, sharing your expression.
And people get that when you're authentic. It's really your story that we're hearing.
It was wonderful. But that idea of what songs come to mind, and what it does for me at that time. There are songs that are joyful, and I'm in my happy mood, and I can just start singing them. There's songs that when I'm feeling not so joyful, there's a song that will remind me of something and pull me out. And
or let you sit
that.
Sometimes with it if you need to for a while.
Yes, because
just to
crying
really
is a
it.
cleansing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
I let it go, and then I'm feeling better. I may not say I'm feeling all right, but I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's all good. So there was another scripture, Micah. It's either 8:6 or 6:8.
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
What does the Lord require of you? Three things.
Simple things. And it was at a time when I was going through something within our family, and I just remember what my mother would say. You got to take it to Jesus. Take it to God. Another prayer. Take it to the Lord in prayer. And what I did was I literally opened the Bible and said, okay, show me the scripture I need. And that's what it was.
Wow.
I went, ooh, I get chills now.
I know.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that became another one for me.
God works in mysterious ways. Yeah.
And I wasn't showing love.
Right.
I was showing bitterness because I felt I had been wronged. But I knew I couldn't stay that way forever.
Yeah, because you were only hurting yourself, really.
Yeah, it's on that piece of forgiveness, right? And so that became one that I used throughout my life in different situations. Yeah. Even in my profession, teaching some students, you have to have some prayer in you.
Yes.
And there were situations
and show mercy sometimes in teachers.
Absolutely. And in working with parents and things like that. So there was a friend of mine that gave me a little book. It was called Chalk Dust for Teachers. It's it's a devotion, and she's since passed. She was the wife of one of the ministers at the church that I attended, and she said, "You need this. You can use this," and she gave it to all the teachers, and I kept it on my desk. And there were moments when I went, "It's a chalk dust time," and I would read that. And so there's all different ways that I find that I feed my soul.
Right.
It's all different times that I do it. Multimedia.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And it was really good, really good.
Yeah.
I can smile about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you've lived long enough to rely on it, that God is reliable, and some days we don't feel it.
And he'll never, ever fail you.
Yeah.
Another song.
Another song. Oh, Val, thank you. This is just wonderful.
Very good.
And I really appreciate that, because it's so inclusive, this loving sort of full body wholeness thing that is really meant to be the faith. It's not meant to be, narrow and focused.
No,
and
not at
it's
all.
just-
Not at all.
Thank you.
I'm glad I said yes.
I am too. And I bet you we could do another one, and we'd do something completely different, and it would be
Okay.
wonderful.
Yes. With you, yes.
Oh, bless you. Thanks. Well, thank you all for tuning in again. We'll see you Wednesday and Friday for evening prayer, but we'll see you next week for another Monday reflection on the rock. Good night.
Good night.